Hello and welcome back to WD18, the Watford fan channel. I'm Charlie Zazera, joined by Sam Yuko to my left on the video, my right that I'm watching. Sam, how are you and what were you doing on Sunday night?
I'm all good, thank you, Charlie. After a brilliant Saturday, I had the pleasure of I'm running the London Marathon this year for a charity called Gift, helping families in particularly the North London area, who can't afford things in particularly the rising cost of living. Issues that are happening at the moment. So I had a lovely evening where packing boxes with some friends that will go out this week to people who need it. I did that after a 25k run yesterday morning as well. So I was exhausted, but we will I'll share the link at some point as well, and hopefully if anyone wants to donate to what is a fantastic cause, you can read more about it. That would be greatly appreciated. But Charlie, how are you? Before we introduce our guest.
Well, I was going to say, Sam, what a man. I wasn't exactly doing that on Sunday night. Adam, any charity work on Sunday?
Just my work for the Watford Observer, I see that. That's for the community, really.
Top man. Obviously, we're joined by Adam Drury of Watford Observer fame. Good weekend?
Yeah, happy days. Feels like things are feeling a little bit rosier and more positive than they have been. So, yeah, good stuff.
Adam, I did want to ask, sorry, like with the job, how much of a difference does it make in terms of like not necessarily how easy it is, but like for you as a Watford fan as well, when Watford do win a game, how much like better does it make sort of the week after that? I know we've got a game on Tuesday, quick turnaround, but yeah. I imagine it makes things a lot easier for you.
Yeah, everyone's a lot happier, which is always nice. To be honest, in terms of like performance on the site, what you want is a win or like a really bad day. They're the days when everyone's on the site wants to know what's going on. It's the sort of meh days that perform least well, but definitely everything feels like more upbeat, more positive after a win. So it's good, and it's made a nice. It's been nice dealing with Ed still as well. I think everyone's seen he's really like honest, transparent communicator and just a good guy, like the kind of guy who could come on this stream and just be another one of, it's just like your mate. So he's been really good. Fingers crossed it keeps going.
We'll talk about Ed still being at the wheel and an impressive 2 games, but we did announce last week our new WD18 merch. Had a few messages saying people who've copped a couple of items, so there's some nice summer garms on there as well. If anyone's interested, so let us know. We'll put the link in the description for those. And another 2 goals for our Hertfordshire Mind campaign, thanks to our 2 strikers, Luka Kuramgor and Mama Dumbia. Sam, I know you put on the running order here. You wanted to ask Adam a bit more about Ed. I know he's alluded to it, but take it away.
Yeah, I mean, you've now spent a couple of weeks getting to know Ed. I imagine, Adam. With his press conferences as well. We had the game against Preston and his first home game at Vicarage Road as well. I've listened to some of the interviews with Ed still, like you said before, he comes across as a really good guy, an interesting guy as well. I feel like it's quite refreshing when he doesn't seem robotic like a lot of other managers are. I think he's very honest. But yeah, what have your early interactions been with him like?
Yeah, I mean, I think he kind of set the tone with that first interview he did with the club, where he talked quite humbly, didn't he, about like he knows how this will look to supporters. He knows that basically no one knew who he was. He was the brother of someone we were much more familiar with. And actually, I met him just before that first presser. So that was the next day after he'd done that interview. And he kind of said all that off the record, like we weren't doing interviews. We weren't. It wasn't anything formal, and he was saying similar stuff like he understands how it comes across. I think he really puts himself in the shoes of a fan, and he finds that very natural to do because he wasn't a player, so he hasn't come through the traditional route of like picking up cliches and the way that football people talk, and he wants to communicate with fans because he knows how he would feel as a fan watching however the team plays. Which is really nice. So he gives he gives good stuff. I guess he knows what fans want to hear, but he's very honest as well. And I think I don't think it's much of a secret. Like Javi was someone who was quite closed off with the press. Like he'd talk a lot about like not wanting to speak about individual. You'd ask him about an individual player, and he'd basically come back with, "Yeah, it's not really about individuals; it's about the team," which is perfectly within his rights to do. Like it's not his job to to keep us entertained, but Ed is someone who is quite happy talking about a range of subjects and gives good stuff for me. But I think that makes a difference for fans as well. So like last week when he was talking about Bar and the way that Bar trained and what he needs to improve on, and he spoke about it in a positive way, but he was using words like he's been more concentrated, more switched on, which kind of implied that hadn't been the case before. I think that helps supporters as well, because I'm sure there were lots of fans during, Javi was in charge, who were like, there were lots of supporters who were like very confused by where players like Bar were and why they weren't involved. And a little bit of explanation and transparency, I think, makes a big difference to the way people feel about it as well. So it works for everyone. He's been great to deal with. Just hope that it's not like a short honeymoon period, the type of which we've seen before, and then things change. But happy days so far.
Yeah, I want to ask you about his whistling as well the other day. We'll get to that after we talk about the game.
It wasn't even just on Saturday, it was at Preston as well, from the other side of the pitch. And I was like, what is this? We'll come on to it, but remember in COVID, you could hear loads of shouting and whistling. There was a Watford coach who whistled all the time. Sam,
yeah,
like,
that does ring a bell.
One of this most coaches. Yeah, it's like that.
We'll get to that. Wanted to talk about and just on Ed Still as well, a little mission for you, Adam. Find out who he did support as a boy, because I know when I met Will, he's a big West Ham fan.
Yeah, you're probably not on the wrong path there, I don't think.
Okay. Obviously, he's a Watford fan now, but anyway, let's get to that derby game. Sam, starting 11, I'll get it up in a bit. I think there was 2 changes. We saw Iran Kunda come straight in, and we saw Jeremy and Gakia come straight in. We had a few interactions as the starting lineups broke, but how did you feel at 1:45 on Saturday?
God, yeah, trying to think back to it now. I think I was, correct me if I'm wrong, Charlie, with whatever I said in our group chat. I think I was content with it more than anything else. I think it was fine, and nothing overly unexpected, I don't think. I think it's often easy, actually, and I find this is an interesting thing with the way football's going generally and football media output, that often a club might really pump out a certain message during the week, and then you'll see something completely different on a Saturday. But this time it wasn't the case, because I was thinking during the week we were seeing a lot of comments on Iran Kunda being back after his suspension, a lot of videos of Iran Kunda in training. And he started the game as well. So I thought he was exceptional as well. So it was good to see Iran Kunda back in the starting lineup as well. Good to see Jeremy and Gakia back too. I think it is potentially a bigger conversation to have, but it does seem sort of the early loser in this new wheel still shape seems to be Mark Bowler, who I don't think was doing too much wrong in the first half of the season, but because of the way he seems to like having 2 natural centre backs in there with Mifuni at left back, it does seem that Bowler's missing out a little bit. But then I think that the frustration for a lot of fans, and I don't want to throw him under the bus here, but seeing Edo Kayembe starting, we've had this debate so many times on the channel. I think he splits opinion pretty much down the middle, 50-50. I actually thought he had a good game the other day, but I think when you got someone like Bar on the bench, or Georgie Shatfatadze, or even the Tom Ince, I think a lot of fans would have potentially rather seen one of those 3 in that position instead.
Adam, while Sam's talking about Kayembe, he's a fascinating player and talking point. I think if you looked on the club's tweet about the starting 11, the majority of the noise would have been, why is Kayembe starting? But I agree with Sam. I thought he was really good on Saturday. What did you make of his performance, and why do you think every coach seems to pick him?
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Pretty much every coach, and he's worked under, I think Roy Hodgson was in charge when he signed. So
you haven't got enough fingers.
Yeah, we haven't got all night, but pretty much every coach has rated him and played him. I actually asked Ed about that afterwards, because there is a lot of noise about him all the time, and he said he was talking about how he is kind of a big brother figure to a lot of the younger French speakers in the dressing room. So I think players like Doumbia, Marma kind of look up to Edo as a really good trainer and someone who they try and copy, and like in terms of how he prepares himself, how he trains, how he is during the week. So that's a big part of why he's in the squad. I think that was something Tom Cleverley talked a lot about last year, was how like he was really proud to have someone like Edo Kayembe in the dressing room. And it's one of those things where as supporters, we don't see that, but it's clearly very valuable to every coach who comes in. I thought he played really well. I don't really subscribe to a lot of the noise around him. I see his limitations, which are, I think generally that if you ask most people what the issue is, it would be that he takes too long. Like he takes speed out of the game sometimes with an extra touch where he doesn't need it. And I do see that, but I think he brings a lot to the table as well. I think he looks after the ball very well. He's got a big body, which is tough. He's tough to knock off the ball. I do think when he plays at a slightly better tempo, the way he passes is nice. Like he's one of those players who can open up and switch the play to the other side very quickly. And actually, Ed Still said afterwards that he had done that really well, but one of the team failings on Saturday, if there were failings, was that they didn't do that even more. They wanted Kayembe on the ball all the time, like switching to play both sides. And he's really dangerous from distance with his shooting as well. His shooting was probably the one element of his game that didn't really work on Saturday, but you could see the threat and the positions he takes up. And we know that a few of them are going to fly in over the season. So thought he played really well. And to be honest, there is a lot of noise on social, but he's always well supported in the stands. Like his song is one of the loudest, seems like a popular player, among the fans during games. So it might be one of those situations where the noise on social probably doesn't do justice to how everyone thinks about him. I think he's a pretty popular player, popular with the rest of the players. I don't know if you ask me what my best 11 was right now, I don't know if he'd be in it, but I think he's not someone who deserves to be written off the way he is sometimes.
Totally agree. It made me smile there. You're talking about like his chant in the rookery end, and it reminds me of like the minute Musa Sissoko would come on and get on the ball, and like Sissoko's chant would go off.
It's sometimes how good the chant is as well. The chant just works. Yeah.
Well, is Kayembe's head that big?
Yeah.
I think that was videos. I can't remember which game it was. It might have been even, I don't know, it wasn't Derby away this season. But there was videos, might have been last season of even like the players were singing it in the dressing room at one point as well. So it's caught on in there too.
What we were talking about, Sam, on Saturday was when I saw Derby's team and I called it a championship super team. How many times have Watford fans called for, we need championship experience? And I look at this lineup. Adjiman, I think, has been one of the best strikers in the championship this year. Ryan Brewster, maybe not as consistent, but I think he's improved a lot under John Eustace. Sammy Smodux, who I thought unbelievable pickup. He was scoring in the Premier League last season. Berrington Diaz has been great in the championship. Travis, that kind of player. When I saw this lineup, I was worried, to be honest. I thought back to championship experience. We know Derby's away record. But Sam, talk to me about the early exchanges and maybe our back line and how the game started. Obviously, we got that early goal, but did you have the same thoughts of me when you saw this lineup?
Yeah, I was worried, being honest. But I think that first 5 minutes, and one thing that Ed Still spoke about in the week, I'm paraphrasing, so Adam, jump in here if I'm wrong, but he was talking about having those fast starts and starting with bigger intensity. And I think we immediately saw that. Couple of obviously loose touches in the first couple of minutes. That's quite common in the championship. But we were getting the ball to Otmani Marma, who was brilliant while he was on the pitch before he went off injured. I thought we were moving the ball quickly. A big reason for that, I think, was Stefan Mafuni at the back. We were talking about how during that period, sort of between Max Lane and Mafuni, we were talking about how we really missed that defender who could quickly help with that build-up going forward. And I think Mafuni's been fantastic at doing that. So I think we were on the front foot. We were intense. And I think it actually took Derby by surprise a little bit more than anything. I think they were expecting Watford to almost sit back and try and grow into the game a little bit and go from there. And I was expecting that as well. I was thinking it was going to be a scrappy game that was maybe decided by one goal. I thought before the game, I did think that we might end up on the wrong side of that. But I think our fast start would have completely thrown them off, and yeah, luckily we capitalised on that, because there have been times this season where we started well and we haven't done that. I look back at like Coventry away, where I actually think for half an hour in that game, you could argue that that's the best football that Watford have played this season. Yet we go in at half time. Was it 3-0 down? We were at half time, having played some fantastic football. So yeah, the fact that we've done that against a championship playoff rival, I think was really impressive from us.
I mean, I agree with what you're saying, that, Sam, in terms of the intent and the intensity that we started with. But I actually thought, and Adam, I'll put it to you, could you see early on what Ed Steele's game plan was against Derby? Because I thought it was glaring.
Go on.
No, I just thought if you look at the stats, and I could bring it up, Derby, I think, have got the second lowest possession in the Championship this season, and their away record is probably the best or the second best. And I think they've had their real success just sitting back and being a really good counter-attacking team and getting Adjiman running in the channels. And I thought from the outset, Watford, the minute Derby had the ball, we had our two banks of four, and we had, I think, Kayembe and Kurumgor as the two, and we just let them have it and said, go on, you try and break us down, see how good you were trying to do that, get in between the lines. And they were having no joy. And the minute we won it back, I thought our intensity, I thought our fast breaks were brilliant, and we were a constant threat. And I thought it was a clear tactic from Ed Steele. But you guys are at the ground. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think, well, that was always going to be an interesting part of it, because, as you said, Derby have the second lowest possession share in the league, and Watford were 1 win in 7 at home when they had more than 50% of the ball. So how much we were going to improve the possession play to break them down, or try and change the look of the game so that it suited us, that was always going to be interesting. And yeah, you're right. That it was clearly a plan to go sometimes quite quick into Luca, who played. He looks a little bit sharper last couple of weeks, like the knockdowns and the little first touch passes into midfield.
Best he was in a long time. Sorry to jump on.
No, you're right. And that really helps the counter attack. And Marma started the game really well. Kayembe was linking those moves nicely. I think also, and this is a thread going back through the season as well, going 1-0 up early on just makes all the difference. And it's something Watford have had a terrible record falling behind so far this season and chasing the game. And it's always been a bit of a struggle when the game looks like that. But getting 1-0 up and being able to do that, but knowing that the crowd isn't going to turn restless, the game's under control, means you can just pick them off on the counter-attack. And actually in the second half, even more. When I think back to the Middlesbrough game and the Birmingham game and then this one, coming out for the second half 1-0 up and then having some fantastic subs to bring on, I think the fitness levels of the squad all season have been really good. So I think credit goes to the coaching staff we had back in the summer, which feels like ages ago, but they got the squad really fit. And it feels like in the second half of games, Watford get stronger and opposition get weaker. That's happened in all 3 of those wins, and all 3 we've taken the lead early. And then you get Irankunda, Bar, Shakfatadze, Dumbia coming on, like running those channels, running into space. Abankwah had that dart forward on Saturday. It feels like whenever we win the ball, we're going to create a chance, even if we win it deep in our own half when we're winning the game. So I think that made a big difference. But yeah, clearly this is a team that is at its best when it's counter-attacking fast rather than like probing and dominating in the opposition's half. And I think that will probably be how the game looks tomorrow night as well, because I'd imagine Ipswich will come and try and dominate.
100%. Sam, that first goal, I thought Marma had a really, really bright start to the game. And even before his great bit of skill where he just went through I think is it Ward there right back? You could see he was attacking and he tried to do a step over or something and it didn't come off and he went straight to defender. But his mentality, he never stops. And he obviously skinned his man, put the ball in. Kayembe does well to get a shot off and it falls to Luca. Has Luca scored a goal without it being a first-time finish? And what did you make? What did you make of the goal from where you were? Obviously not the rook. I don't think he scored at the rookery end either.
Oh,
2 questions.
The one I think that might have been given to him. It hasn't been given to him. Dumbia's shot that hit him on the way in, which I know, Charlie, you're with me on having a small wager on him top goal scorer. If he misses out by 1 this season,
Fuming.
we're going to be in the live chat. But yeah, I think that's the only one.
I was actually watching.
Responsibly.
I was watching Kieran Gall quite closely during the game on Saturday, and it was really interesting because I said before, I think he was a lot better than he has been in recent weeks. He looked a lot sharper. He's been dropping in a lot more to try and win those flick-ons. He actually can be quite I don't want to say a tidy player because a lot of the time it doesn't come off, but when it does come off, his little flicks in behind, we seem to be in quite a lot, or we're in sort of 2-on-2, 3-on-3 situations, which can be really, really good with our pace that we've got. I think his movement in the box the other day was really good, particularly when that ball went out to Jeremy Ngakia. And actually look back to the goal away at Derby away, I think it was where Ngakia made that cross into the box and Kieran Gall made that run almost to the front post for the first time finish. And he made that run a couple of times the other day again. But going back to Marma, yeah, you're right, Charlie. His attitude, I think, is fantastic. I don't know the numbers, actually. I don't know if they are possible to get. But in terms of winning the ball back and how quickly players win the ball back, Marma must be right up there for us this season in terms of being dispossessed and winning it straight back, which I think is testament to his attitude. But yeah, brilliant flick, nutmeg around the Derby fullback. Was it into Kayembe who couldn't quite get his shot off? It came to Kieran Gall. The keeper was sort of slightly to his left, and then Kieran Gall was able to put it in the other way. So a really well taken finish, I think well deserved for the start that we made as well.
I had a bit of time today, so looking back at some of the highlights, and what I found interesting, I remember a part in the game where our build-up was quite impressive, which watching Watford is quite rare, I find. I find sometimes us trying to build up from the back quite painful, and I always think it's a sign of a good team who's got a good build-up. I always think of Fulham. If you watch them, they've got a really good build-up and get through the phases quite quickly. So this was kind of what I picked out, and one of the patterns that I saw early on, which is quite interesting in terms of how we set up. And if you see here, we kind of go to a back three in the end? Oh, got my lines all wrong. Get rid of those. You can see there clearly the back three, and look at Jeremy Ngakia's position all the way kind of as a right winger. And this led to, I think we'd had a phase where it was like a 31 pass sequence. It went to Ngakia, Jeremy Ngakia on the right, who put a really nice ball into Iran Kunda, who kind of chipped it out to, I think it was Marma, and he played it to Louza, who ballooned it over. But I was really impressed with the build-up. I did think this changed in the first half, but Adam, did you notice anything about how Watford had kind of set up in possession and how we were building up?
Yeah, I mean, that similar thing started at Preston, when I think it was even more exaggerated, like back three and wing backs, Abankwah and Marma as the wing backs, and possibly looking to achieve a similar thing, whereas maybe this was a slightly tweaked, more subtle version. But I think you definitely want Fooney like in that left centre-back position, because he's then got the angles to go wide or pass inside. I mean, I don't know if we want to talk about him specifically, but he is an absolute joke. For turned 18 a couple of weeks ago, and I feel like talking about him in the context of Watford and like how well he's playing for us almost does him a disservice. Like, I think the conversation with him is what the career that he could go on to have if he's this good after 4 senior matches, because Sam's right, he's sort of replaced Max Elaine like in that build-up role, but I mean, he's better than Max Elaine, isn't he? Like already. And yeah, just makes a huge difference to the way we can play out. And I think you only need to watch even the short highlights, and chances are created from little passes he plays into midfield. And yeah, he suits that kind of left centre-back role, which might be one of the reasons that Mark Bowler is missing out at the moment, because of the way that's configurated. So yeah, that's good.
He had this touch, Sam. It'd probably be right in front of you, like in the rookery left corner behind the goal, and he's taking this touch on kind of really like behind him, and instead of like getting rid of it or just letting it roll and try and get his body on, he's who's controlled it, and then he's hooked it down the line. Sam, anything to add on how good Fooney is? Are you surprised to see him at left back, or do you think he could move centrally? I remember I put out a tweet saying about the dreams Watford 11 if we had all our players fit, and I had him next to Pollock. What do you think his best role is for us?
Yeah, I'm a big believer you've got to try and fit your best players in somehow. So I do think I would quite like to see him at centre back with Mark Bowler at left back. I don't think Bowler's done a lot wrong this season. So I think he is the loser here, like I mentioned earlier. But he's been exceptional, and I don't think you can move him away from this left back role at the moment because he's been fantastic. I mean, I'm interested in as well looking at the director's box. If we see sort of Yamogi Bayat, Potso, Duxbury, and then Thomas Tuchel sat there as well over the next few weeks, having a look at Fooney ahead of the summer. But what a career he's got ahead of him! I can't believe he's only 18 as well. He looks like he's been playing for ages. Even his build as well. He's big. He's tall. He's strong. And I think you're right, Adam. As much as we loved Max Elaine, I think we're already seeing that Fooney exactly. We're already seeing that Fooney's a better option. I think.
I feel like I find myself hoping he gets the next decisions in his career right, because we probably haven't seen someone like this since Nathaniel Chalobah came in as a 17-year-old, and I guess we were probably having similar conversations. And he's an example of how there's no guarantees that things will work out exactly how you hope they will. But yeah, it's going to be hard for him to probably break into the Man City team next season. So whether it's the next loan or whether he has to leave there, I know we're jumping a long way ahead, but I think he could be really special. I think he's got world-class potential for sure. He could be one of the top defenders in the country over the next few years, if this is anything to go by. So just hope that progress can keep happening.
Adam, I wonder if you've got, sorry, Charlie, Adam, I don't know if you've got any insight on this, but I remember when Max Elaine went back to Man City and how complimentary Pep Guardiola was of Castellano and of Javi Gracia for their role in Elaine's development. Obviously, it's without doubt it's going to help our relationship with Man City, but was a part of the reason why. Is it Fooney or Mafuni? I don't really know how to say it yet.
Fooney. That's Fooney.
Yeah. It's part of the reason why they chose Watford for him to go out on loan to was because of the success of Max Elaine's loan as well.
Yeah, I think definitely. That was something Valon Barami talked about when Elaine went back. Part of the reason, because they had a few centre-backs out on loan who they could have recalled, and part of the reason they picked him was because they felt he'd done really well. I think Watford were putting on specialist sessions for him to improve individually, because they knew obviously his playing out and the technical side of his game would be really good, but the sort of rough and tumble defensive stuff maybe not so much. So Watford worked a lot with him on that individually. And yeah, Man City were really impressed, obviously enough to recall him and put him straight in the team originally when he went back. And so I don't know if there was an element of, we kind of owe you one, so we're going to loan you the next possible option. But I think definitely the relationship is good as well. I think Watford were, part of the reason it was delayed potentially was that Watford were kind of hoping that Max Elaine might become available again. That wasn't completely off the cards until maybe the 10 days or so before the window shut. But I think it's worked out really well, as we've said. And if this is the start of a consistent stream of Man City loanees coming to Watford, then happy days. But I don't know. I'm not sure we're going to see too many better players than this one.
The new Udinese for us.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Do we have Paolo Pezzolano to thank? He had a relationship with Pep, wasn't it?
Not exactly sure what order that all happened in, but definitely Paolo Pezzolano spent time with Pep last April, May. While I think he was living in Manchester, sort of learning English, waiting for a job in England. Don't know quite how advanced talks were with Watford at the time, but yeah, I think there was a relationship there, but it won't have been Paolo doing the deal to sign the players. So I think it's a thing that's going on at higher level in the club now.
We'll give Valon the credit. Good old Barami. Sam, let's get back to the game. And I was talking about our build up there, and we were trying to break through the lines, especially through Fooney. I did think in the second half, Derby slowly grew into the game and were becoming a bit more comfortable. And I remember you sending a voice note saying about how you impressed with Selvik, and kind of, I did think our build-up changed and we went a lot more direct to Kurumgor. But what did you make of Selvik on the weekend? Because it's always a bit of an interesting topic of conversation.
Yeah, definitely an interesting one, Selvik. An upgrade on previous goalkeepers. I think he's probably an average Championship goalkeeper, maybe slightly above average, but he's been solid this season, I think. I mean, first things first, what an absolutely fantastic save from a really difficult header that he had to save in the second half from their striker, who I can't remember, but he hasn't had a good couple of years. I think he's been relegated a couple of times recently. But anyway, what I wanted to talk about with Selvik was how quickly he actually released the ball on Saturday. I think previously this season, a big frustration with Selvik, and at least sitting in the rookery and in the away end as well. There's been a lot of frustration with Selvik of him holding the ball for a little bit too long and almost trying to wait for Watford to reset, both defensively and going forward as well. Well, because we have so much pace going forward, and the movement sometimes is really, really good as well, particularly when Aaron Kunda was there, when Vata was fit and playing as well. People were saying, just get it forward. And if we don't win the first ball, it's fine. Likely it will go up for a throw and we're up the pitch anyway. Or we're immediately in a good situation, whether that's a 3v3 or a 2v2. And we weren't seeing that enough from Selvik. But the other day, I thought we were seeing it a lot more. He was getting it up. He was kicking it out of his hands a lot more as well, which I thought was interesting compared to previously, where particularly under Javi, I felt too often he was just waiting for everyone to set, and then the two centre-backs would go to the edge of the 6-yard box and he'd just roll it out to them and it would take us a while to get forward again. So, yeah, I think that definitely helped us throughout the second half, because even though we didn't look overly threatening at times, I think the fact we were able just to relieve the pressure and get up the pitch, I think helped us.
Aaron Kunda's a good guy to be clearing quickly towards as well. Yeah. He's so quick, and the leap as well. He competes with centre-backs twice his height for those headers. So, yeah, I agree. There was one in the first half that worked really well, wasn't there?
Yeah, we'll get to Aaron Kunda. Adam, I wanted to ask about Imran Louza and the balance of that midfield, because I've always thought that this team, you want Louza to be the heartbeat, and I've always liked him in the deeper role, especially how Klebs was playing him, trying to dictate and get as many touches as possible. Was that the big change kind of tactically from the Preston game? Having Louza a bit deeper and Kayembe further ahead?
Yeah, the Preston midfield didn't really work, did it? I think the idea for that game was that there basically wasn't going to be that much football played. So it was very direct. You want your best players on the ball as close to goal as possible, and playing Mendy high up to try and win the second balls and stuff. But yeah, Ed still said on Saturday he kind of recognised that hadn't worked and he basically flipped it. So Kayembe played the furthest forward this time. I don't know about Louza's best position. I would have been with you in the summer that you probably want him as the 6 and basically in charge of dictating the game. I think it's probably changed a little bit this season, where he's proved how good he is shooting from distance, creating in the final third. I think you basically want him as an all-action player as much as possible, like as close to the ball as possible, whether that be on the edge of the box or the edge of your own box. I think Papi Mendy's made a massive difference to the balance of the midfield as well. Like there's certain things Ed Still's done so far, which when you just sort of withdraw a little bit from it and look at the bigger picture, like just makes so much sense, like logical sense, maybe decisions that weren't being made before. So switching to 4-3-3, bringing Mendy back in as that ball winner who can sit in front of the back four, but also aggressive with those challenges, frees Louza up a little bit to get on the ball deeper, but also break forward. Yeah, the midfield in general. And Charlie Daniels, in fairness, changed it first at Hull, which was just like a transformed performance from what we'd seen 3 days earlier against Swansea. And I think that the pretty basic switch to 4-3-3 has been the biggest difference in this little upturn in form. So I don't know about Louza as the deepest midfielder. You just sort of want him on the ball as much as possible. But Mendy in there next to him, I think, I mean, I don't want to sort of, criticize Javi too much because he will have had his reasons. But like watching Mendy recently, it's pretty baffling that he hasn't been involved more over the last few months. Looked like a really good player under Paulo, and then completely out the picture, I think, because of his size. Javi wanted a bigger midfielder to partner Louza. But to me, Mendy looks really, really good player and like perfect player to complement the rest of our team.
The average positions here back up everything Adam said about Louza not being too deep. You can see Mendy 23, the deepest. Kayembe is actually the furthest forward. I actually thought he was making some really nice runs as well to displace like Derby's back line, especially when Marma had it. And you can see Kuram Gore there kind of holding it up, but that's a nice shape there. Sam, any thoughts on little Mendy?
Yeah, brilliant. Really, really good. I think that he goes quite unnoticed as well. Not unnoticed. Maybe that's me being not giving him his flowers necessarily, but I think he sweeps up really, really well in the background. I think Leicester, when they actually signed him in 2017, described him as the Kante replacement. I'm not saying he is anywhere near those levels. We can call him the Hertfordshire Kante maybe, but I do see those sort of similarities in those games in terms of having that engine on him and sweeping up things in between. I did just want to make a general point, actually, because I know we just mentioned Imran Louza there, but I think phenomenal. I don't know how many players are included in this, but with it being Ramadan as well, and the fact that he did not stop running throughout the entire game. I saw a picture on Instagram, I think at 5 a.m. of Imran Louza and Otmar Marma having their pre-match meal at about 5 a.m. in the morning. And the fact that they then played, well, Louza played 90 minutes, didn't he? Or most of the game. Marma obviously went off injured, but credits to them. I thought they didn't stop running. I'm not sure if which other players are involved in there who are doing Ramadan at the moment.
Definitely Kayembe as well.
Kayembe as well. So yeah, credit to all of them as well, because I thought they put in a brilliant shift with that considered as well.
Absolutely. Let's talk about Iran Kunde. Come straight into the team. I think Sam, you talked about it. I feel like the Watford media team, the admin, he was on the graphics. He was in the socials before. Obviously, he's come back off a 3-game suspension after that. Let's say stupid red card. Portsmouth, was it? What game was that? He got sent off.
Swansea.
Oh yeah.
It was Javi's the last moments of Javi's reign.
Tried to get rid of that tragic Saturday. But Iran Kunde came back on the right wing. Sam, what did you make of him?
Exceptional. So good. And that's the Iran Kunde that we've been crying out for so long. A confident Iran Kunde as well. I think it's quite evident that what Ed Still has done in the last week is put an arm around his shoulder and has really put that belief back into him. Because I think under Javi, it was sucked out completely of him. And I think that red card was actually a culmination of a really, really difficult period for Nestor Iran Kunde, which I'd say started under Paolo Pezzolano when he got substituted in the first half away at Portsmouth, and I think culminated with that red card against Swansea that we just mentioned. I hope what's happened now is that Ed Still's come in, it's a fresh start. He's able to put that behind him, and that faith has been put back into him that he's a really important player for us, particularly the Vata out. Bar is, we don't know what he's going to be like fitness-wise. Marma's now injured as well, so Iran Kunde is going to be key for us. I still think there are little bits of his game that obviously need to be worked on. He's a young player. We can only expect that. His final ball particularly really needs some work, but the way that he drives us forward, the way that I think the momentum that he helps the crowds and the way that he's able to shift momentum within the crowd, get everyone off their seats. He likes engaging with the crowd as well, putting his arms up. I think when he got substituted off and fans were singing his name, he was loving it as well as everyone was singing it. So yeah, fantastic. And that open goal, the goal from open play, which he hasn't done yet so far this season, I've got a feeling it's going to come soon.
Can we talk about this phase of play, which if this goal goes in, I think goes down in Watford folklore.
All-timer. Yeah.
I think this setup kind of was a bit about what I was talking about at the start of the game. You can see how many Watford players you got back. I think Abankwah's kind of come out. You can see Ngakia's fielding for him. You can see the midfield triangle here. I think this is Luca here at the back. Aaron Kunda, I don't know if he had an injury, but he had to go off. But yeah, really good defensive shape. The ball breaks, and in comes Aaron Kunda, nicks the ball off, I think it's Travis, pops around the corner, and then he drives through the heart of the whole pitch, through the middle, which I feel like he's done a couple of times. He knocks the ball past, I think it was one of their left back, Ward again, and then he's bearing down the goal. He just needed to lift it over the goalkeeper instead of trying to pass it around him. But Adam, how good would that goal have been? And I don't know if you've got any more insights about Aaron Kunda as a character, because to me he seems like one of the lads that like everyone gets along with, really bright personality. He's vying for a place against Barr and Georgie and all these players, but he seems like best mates with them, and he just seems like to coin a phrase Roy Keane said, just a great lad.
Yeah. I feel like between this chance and foremost Mendy's volley at Preston, we're due an iconic goal, right? Something iconic is coming, because that's 2 near misses. Yeah, I think he's like, you can see when he's at his best and like upbeat and really bubbly, like he's a really fun character. Everyone gets on with him, very infectious. And then you're probably seeing the other side of just a 20-year-old kid who hasn't been exposed to very much of this stuff, with that kind of blow up at Portsmouth under Paolo, and then the red card against Swansea. So he's clearly a character who needs managing in the right way. And that's kind of like that combination of tough love sometimes and putting your arm around him sometimes. And I'd imagine it's not the last time we'll be talking about a controversy or something of that nature. But hopefully he's learning from those incidents, and we're going to see more of the good stuff between now and the end of the season. Again, I think, like I mentioned before with the midfield, the way that Ed Still has kind of opened up the possibilities in this entire squad is in quite stark contrast to where Javi was. It felt like Javi really only trusted by the end a handful of the squad to play in the way that he wanted to play. And that was quite a controlled, like prescriptive style of football. Whereas Ed Still's come in and just looked at the entire squad, and he talked earlier today about like 22, 23 players. He really believes they're all excellent players. He's happy to use all of them. He wants to build a team around their strengths. And I think, yeah, it feels like quite a few players who weren't in the picture so much before. Even someone like foremost Mendy, Jeremy Petrie wasn't on the bench on Saturday, but we've seen a bit better of him under Charlie Daniels before. Like, it feels like there's a whole new load of possibilities for players who we weren't really considering because of the way that Javi saw them. And yeah, Ed Still has come in and said, well, he's got rid of any preconceptions, blank sheet of paper, and he, quite a few players I think have got a new lease of life, and he's definitely one of them who looks a lot happier. But yeah, as I say, I'd imagine there's going to continue to be ups and downs with him moving forward.
I'm really interested to see what Ed Still does going forward in terms of, because it felt like Preston was a very bespoke lineup to kind of limit their strengths. Although I watched them on Friday night and God, that was a bad game. And even I thought against Derby, it was like very tactical. So I'm interested to see if he's going to be like game by game, using different players or like horses for courses, or if he will find a formula and sit in. But yeah, he seems a lot more open, and so many more players have come back into the fold. I feel like we've got so many more players I want to rattle through. But Adam, could you give a quick update on what you know about Quadro Barr's injury? Obviously, Mama went off injured as well. And yeah, I thought Quadro Barr, when he came on, that is the biggest stonewall penalty I have seen. Like, he drives in midfield. I think it's Sanderson, gets nowhere near him and just hacks him down. And the ref called. Let's not talk about the ref, but yeah, sad to see Barr getting off injured, Adam. But do you know any more about it?
Yeah, I mean, not that much more beyond what the latest update today was. So spoke to Ed Still this morning, and he said that essentially they're still kind of working out the extent of the damage. I think it can take like 48 hours or so for these things to settle down and to be sure, and they go for scans and all that kind of thing. So probably the fact that that's still going on rules them out of tomorrow. I mean, I think Mama was on the pitch at the end with the players walking around, so that's probably a good sign. And it seemed like he came off. I think they both came off at the first sign of trouble, which is hopefully what means that they've avoided serious injury. And they were both obviously walking absolutely fine, didn't need help coming off or anything. So, yeah, I don't know that much more other than they're probably going to miss tomorrow. It didn't sound like it was impossible that if those scans or whatever they need to do come up okay, they could be involved tomorrow, but I think they probably won't be. So yeah, fingers crossed. But it's kind of a familiar tale with Bar, unfortunately, which is just that we're constantly like wincing and worrying whenever he breaks into a sprint that he's going to do a muscle injury, which, considering he hasn't even played that much this season, is a little bit of a concern. That break through the middle for the penalty shout was explosive. It was reminded me a bit of Gareth Bale. Remember when he moved from a winger into a central player and like surged into the box? Almost looked like we were seeing what the future could be for Bar if he keeps evolving as a player. But yeah, fitness concerns that haven't really gone away. I mean, it was a concern like over a year ago, and it's still the same, really.
Let's manifest positive vibes. Sam, I've got so many players that I want to talk about, but we're running out of time already. Who is your man of the match, or a player, if it's Fooney, someone different who, because I thought everyone had a good game, but is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
Well, yeah, I mean, it would be Fooney, my man of the match. Oh, that is a difficult one. I haven't really thought about. I'm actually going to go with.
While you're thinking, can I talk about James Abankwah?
Go on, yeah, you go James Abankwah because mine's different.
I thought James Abankwah was my man of the match. We mentioned Ajiman at the start, who is a big lad, isn't he? And he was tasked with James Abankwah was tasked with him, and I thought that first half was a real battle. And I thought Abankwah was really concentrated and considered, where we've seen James Abankwah can be quite rash sometimes and make bad decisions, but none of it on Saturday. And I thought he's superb against a really, really strong physical striker. And yeah, I just thought he was excellent all game. It looked like Ajiman didn't even come out for the second half. He didn't fancy it, did he? The only thing that Bankwah probably did badly was that surge upfield where he found himself in the box and didn't quite know what to do. But yeah, he was my man of the match just because of the task that he's faced. And Bankwah's had quite a few not bad moments, but Coventry away, did he get sent off? Oxford, he got sent off. He's made a few mistakes, but I thought he was pretty faultless on Saturday. Anyone else that you wanted to mention, Sam?
Mentioned him already, but I'd actually give it to Luca. I think that the improvement in his performance was huge. And I think having that sort of functioning and more mobile version of him in that number 9 slot just helps us a lot. I think it doesn't, not only does it help us in terms of that attacking three, but it also helps midfield as well, having that outlet as well. So I'm going to go with Luca as my man of the match.
Adam, before we talk about potential playoffs, Ipswich, I know you're a big fan of Doumbia. I know you've hinted at maybe having Doumbia ahead of Kurum Gore, but what did you make of his cameo?
Yeah, really good. Another demonstration of what I think his potential is. And again, Ed Still asked him about the strikers today, and he was talking about how different they are. I think Luca is someone who probably isn't as mobile, but he's got really nice, clean technique and a clean finisher. Whereas the word he used for Doumbia, I think, was wild. He can be really wild, but in a good way, like causing chaos, running the channels. I think his hold-up play is really good. I think, yeah, certainly when Luca was struggling towards the end under Javi, sort of felt quite strongly that Doumbia should be given a go up front. I'd say Luca's form has improved a fair bit now, so I'd imagine he'll keep the spot, but really, really highly rate Doumbia and think he could be kind of what you look for in a modern striker at the moment. He could be the one who maybe has the highest ceiling of the three. Probably needs to add that like goal scoring instinct and clean up his finishing and stuff. But I really rate him, and he is great as a sub as well, because he causes that carnage for the last 20 minutes or so when, as I said before, like we're counter-attacking quickly and running into space. I think he's great.
Yeah, I thought he was really his link up was really clean, and he won loads of duels. And speaking of duels, there's something I think John used to say after the game was not many times this season he said his team Watford. He basically said Watford wanted it more, which I agree. And I think as the game went on, we did get a bit more direct, and we did win basically every second ball. Here are some of the stats you can see. Jules won, even the dribbles, tackles, interceptions. I think we were at it on Saturday, which is great to see. Sam, what was that atmosphere like? What was the Rookery like on Saturday? More Ed Still chants?
Yeah, a lot of sort of Ed Still's Yellow Army as well, at full time as well. A lot of the Rookery stayed, at least in the bit that I was in, which hasn't happened in a long time, of course. So the atmosphere was really, really good. It does make such a huge difference. I think having that game at 3:00 on a Saturday as well. I think the 12:30 games have been so flat this season at Vicarage Road, which don't know if that's sort of a Watford thing or a thing across the country. My gut is it's something that we're seeing generally just across stadiums, with the games being so early on at the moment. But yeah, the atmosphere was really, really good, and it seems that Watford fans have taken to Ed Still really well.
I'm just looking at the table now, which is pretty congested, and there's a lot of teams between us, and I'll get the fixtures up in a bit. Let me see. But 3 points off the playoffs. But what I find really interesting, I think what is something that's in our favour, is how many games we've got against basically our playoff rivals. Wrexham. Adam, has Wrexham been rearranged today?
Yeah. It's in 2 weeks. So after Bristol City on Friday, there's a long break for 11 days until Sheffield Wednesday. And then it's Tuesday, Saturday, which is Sheffield Wednesday, Stoke, Leicester. Wrexham, Leicester.
Interesting. And then
that Wrexham game is gearing up to be a big one as it stands.
When's FA Cup weekend? Because you imagine they're going to be concentrating on that Chelsea game.
We play them straight after that. No, we don't. That's wrong. It's the week. It's the midweek after.
But yeah, obviously we've taken points off Derby, Wrexham. Hull, we should have won that whole away game. I'm still thinking about that Louza miss. Obviously, we're playing Ipswich on Tuesday. They've got battered, didn't they, by Wrexham 5-3, was it? I think the one thing that is concerning is those two games at the end where we got Middlesbrough and Coventry, who, unless Millwall fall off, Millwall lost to Portsmouth. Maybe those two are already promoted, and do you know what I mean? We'll have a bit more of a run of it. But Sam, if I say to you the words playoffs, how do you respond?
Yeah.
You don't want it?
My gut is it's going to be a no. I think we've left ourselves not left ourselves too much to do, because we could be. I don't know how. Is there a chance? I think if results go our way, we could. If we win tomorrow night and then win on Friday night, we could go 6th before everyone else play their games on over the weekend. I don't think this late in the season I can see this Watford team putting together the run of form that's going to be needed. I think if we're going to get into the top 6, we're going to need not a similar run to the one that we had over Christmas in terms of winning 4 games in a row. I don't think it's that, but I just think we're going to see maybe a case of it just being almost 2 good performances, 1 bad performance, and don't think we can go with that at the moment. I think we do need to just be picking up points on the board, and unfortunately I do think it's going to be close, and I do think it's going to come down to even those last 2 games against Middlesbrough and Coventry. But as I've said, I think on a previous video, I think unfortunately we're going to look back at the end of the season at that Sheffield Wednesday at home game and that Portsmouth at home game, and 1 or 2 others, that lose and miss away at Hull, and think what could have been.
Yeah, I think that's probably likeliest, that there's a few games this season so far that they'll definitely regret. I mean, it's not out the question at all. And as I said, I think the fact that the squad feels
Hull and Millwall drop points.
Yeah. Hull are definitely catchable. I mean, they weren't. I can't say I watched enough of them to know how they looked during their run of wins, but from what I can tell, and I spoke to their reporter a bit most of the wins that they got on their really good run were close games that they were edging. And basically now they're not edging those close games anymore. They're going the other way, which started when we played them. And as you said, we should have won that night. I kind of worry about, I can't remember when it last was that Watford as a club went on like a really good run for quite a long time. Kind of worry that something else will come along just when we feel like things are going well. And that kind of happened last year, didn't it? I think it was this time last year we beat Luton and we won a couple of games and it felt good.
It was today. It was a year ago today. It was since we beat Luton.
Yeah, so I don't trust at the moment that it's
Sam's got those memories in his phone.
Right in there as well. What a day.
Sorry, Adam, what were you saying?
No, I don't necessarily trust at the moment that we're going to find like that big run. But as I said, I think the squad now feels deeper than it did a few weeks ago, just because players have sort of been welcomed back. And we've got Bove and Ekwa to come into midfield. And yeah, part of me thinks the squad is really strong, really powerful, and it's going to be quite a big source of regret if we don't really push and maybe don't make it. Because I really do think the quality and depth in the squad is good enough. When you look at the teams who are above us, and I've watched Watford play them this season, and we look a better team than them. But I would imagine it's probably not going to happen, but not impossible.
Big game against Ipswich. Obviously, I think they were the favourites going into the season. They've been a bit hit and miss. If we think Marma's not going to be fit and Quadro Bar, Sam, who do you think will come into the team? Obviously, it's only a few days. Do you see any changes in the back line? Is Matty Pollock now fit? He came on, didn't he?
Yeah, it's going to be the quick turnaround in games, not only with us playing Saturday, Tuesday, but then again on Friday, which I don't want to go into the scheduling now, but I think it's ridiculous that we're being made to play on Friday as well, when that game could have been on a Saturday. That's a conversation for another day. I do think we will see some slight rotation tomorrow. It won't surprise me if we see maybe one or two changes in that back line, with Bola coming in, maybe Funi moving over to centre back. I don't think they'll drop him completely. Pollock might come in for Gogliashitze as well, who we didn't mention, but I thought he was solid as well the other day.
We've had a couple of comparisons.
Yeah, I was going to say, Adam, yeah.
Go on, Adam, you say your comparison, then we'll mention the great man Jacob Corshaw, who he compared him to.
He reminds me of Joel Ekstrand a lot. I say a lot, like a bit. For those who were, present at the start of the Pozzo era, he was I remember he came in on loan on the day that we sold Martin Taylor to Sheffield Wednesday, which I don't know why I remember that specifically, but there was like it was a big contingent of Udinese loanees who came in, obviously, and we sold a guy who was actually a championship experienced player, and there was a lot of uproar, and he was very unheralded. But actually, when you looked at his record, he'd played quite a lot for Udinese, and he kind of just slotted into Watford's team in the championship and was just like, I don't think he was incredible, and he made the odd mistake, but just kind of like in control, and it had this aura of what's the fuss about? Like, I've got it, don't worry. I thought he was a good player, and it reminds me a bit of that, because I think Gogliashitze, I think that's right, came in obviously around when Javi left, and there was a lot of uncertainty and not much chat around his signing, and kind of a lot of skepticism at that time. But he just looks really calm, solid player to me. And he's 21, just very young, considering what a good leader he looks like. He was waving the back four up the pitch and shouting at everyone and getting them going. So I don't know, there's so many options at the back now, and so many of them are versatile as well. So you've obviously got Funi can play in a couple of positions. Abankwah could go to right back. It wouldn't shock me tomorrow, well, maybe not tomorrow, but at some stage, if Ed still uses a back five as well and brings Bola in at wing back, kind of in the shape that you highlighted earlier, but actually with a wing back rather than a winger, particularly if there are injuries to wingers. That could be a way of going, maybe at some stage this week. But yeah, sorry, I've gone off track there. Joel Ekstrand is my shout.
Jacob compared him to friend Cesco Sierralta.
Yeah, I like that comparison as well. I see a lot of similar movements as well, and the body language at times is quite similar to Sierralta.
He could play as a full sixer, could he?
couldn't. What the Chile and Pirlo? Remember that QPR game on the first day of the season, won 4-0 when he was in that number 6 role. Wow, what a time that was. I do think actually as well at some point this week, in terms of that back four, we might see James Abankwah move to right back and then Ngakia given a rest as well. As 3 games in 6 days can be difficult for a player who has played a lot of minutes this season, having previously. I mean, he might have already played more minutes this season than he has in any other previous season for Watford over a season. So that's one to keep an eye on, I think. In terms of control as well within games, we could see maybe a Tom Ince in there tomorrow. But I do think it'll be probably Shafatate will come back into the team over Otmar Mama. And that might just be changes.
I think Petri will definitely be. When he missed out on Saturday, but with 2 wingers out, I think he'll probably be back in the squad. And as I've just said, I can definitely see a back 3 being used at some stage, and he would be the ideal pick at wing back. I know Ed still rates him quite highly, and I think he looks very lively going forward. So maybe on Friday night, wouldn't shock me that much if Boller and Petri came in as wing backs and played a kind of box midfield or something like that inside.
Interesting. All right, we'll wrap up there quickly. We'll get the predictions. Sam, prediction for Ipswich?
I think they're going to be hungry for a reaction after conceding 5 at Wrexham, but I think they're a good team. But I'll go with the draw. I think 2-2.
Oh, that was going to be mine. I can see 2-2 as well. I think it'll be a high-scoring game. I think we're definitely going to create chances. I will go to mix it up. I'll go 3-2 Watford.
Ooh, I will go with 3-3 and we'll wrap things up there. Actually, congratulations to James Morris for getting the winner for Leyton Orient on Saturday. What a man. I know there was a few fans who were really happy with him, including Harry Welch, and doing our Hearts Mind campaign, raising money. But if we might have to do a GoFundMe page for Harry to get some new glasses for him as well. He's looking like that comedian Angelo at the moment. We'll wrap things up there. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you, Adam, for joining. You looking forward to tomorrow? Is it going to be cold, or are we getting into the...
Sure. I'm going to go to the under-21s in the afternoon as well, so it's a double match day.
Are they playing?
Brentford. Tested me for a minute there. It is Brentford, I think. So, yeah, looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a really good game, as we've just suggested with our predictions.
Sam, are you going to the under-21s tomorrow afternoon?
I won't be at the under-21s, but I will be at the
armchair fan.
I know. I should try. I do try and get down when they're at Vicarage Road. Those games, the under-21s games, but I will not be there tomorrow.
We should also shout out the Watford women who are having a really good season. Adam, I don't know if you've got details about where they are. Are they top of the league?
Yeah, they are top. Bournemouth are third with 2 games in hand and 5 points behind. But Watford play Bournemouth on the last day of the season, and it's one team wins the league and gets promoted. Second goes into the playoffs. So we could be set for a winner-takes-all final day.
Didn't we have a similar situation, the girls under Damon a couple of years ago? I'm sure it was like a game.
They won the playoffs, didn't they?
Yeah, Stadium MK against Nottingham Forest, I think it was.
Okay, well done.
So it could be a similar scenario.
Well done to the Golden Girls. Hopefully it'll be another Watford win tomorrow night. Thanks to everyone who was watching on this late Monday night. Some great numbers again. We have got the Mental Health World Cup coming up, and I'm going to start looking for raffle and auction prizes. So if anyone's got any ideas or anything they're happy to donate, please get in touch. Like I said, we've got the WD18 merch live, so check that out in the link in the description. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your Mondays, and come on, you Golden Boys.